The Pythagorean theorem is used for finding the missing side length of a right triangle. Okay? So, we have 3 sides to a right triangle right here. Okay? This is your right angle. And the right angle connects the legs, what are called the legs of the right triangle. So you have 2 legs. Mason, stop talking. You have 2 legs and you have a hypotenuse, which is the diagonal side. And the way that we can always identify what is the hypotenuse is the legs are always adjacent. What does the word adjacent mean? Next to. Okay? Adjacent means next to, and we can always go from the right angle and draw an arrow across, and the side that that arrow gets to is called the hypotenuse. And I always sound it out when I spell it, because that's the only way I can do it. Hypotenuse. Otherwise, I won't be able to write it correctly. It's also sometimes called the diagonal because sometimes they ask you diagonal because sometimes they ask you what's the length of the diagonal side of the triangle. Okay? The theorem only works on right triangles. And here's how it works. So, you have a formula. It is on your formula chart. Everybody got a purple chart in their folder? Yeah. I know you do. Flip it open. Oh, yes, you do. And if you go about all the way down to where it says additional information towards the bottom of your purple chart, your Pythagorean theorem equation is there. And it's not 2. Stop saying that. It's a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay? You don't want to use 2. You need to use the right information. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what that says is if you make one leg A and one leg B, you take the square of the side A and you square the length of the side B, and it will give you the square of the side C. And we're going to prove that right here. If I have these and this, okay, here we go. I'm going to prove that here's my 2 legs. So this is a leg and this is a leg. This side length is 3. Everybody tell me, put in your calculator, what is 3 squared equal to? 9. Everybody knows that? 3 squared is 9. Let's count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is a square that we draw on this side to say the square of the side length is 9 of that leg. Let's look at this one. What is 4 squared? 4 squared is equal to 16 if you do it in your calculator. And if I look at those, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So, what the theorem says here is that if you take the square of the first leg, 3 squared, which is right here, what do you get? 9. And you add it to the square of the second leg, which is 4, which is 16. 4 squared is 16. You are going to end up with the square of this side. So if this side is 5 and it's a right triangle, let's count them and see what we end up with. If we count these, I end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. When you add plus 16, do you get 25? Put it in your calculator. Oh, so 5 squared, do you get 25? So 9 plus 16 is 25, isn't it? And that is what we're proving, that when you take the square of one leg, add it to the square of the second leg, you get the square of the third leg. Well, what we use this is we are looking for a missing hypotenuse. So and we call the hypotenuse can also be known as C. Okay? The legs are A and B, and the hypotenuse is C. So if, for instance, I have A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and if I put in 4 for A and do 4 squared, okay, plus 11 squared, for B, I put in 11, I should find what C squared is, not the side length at this point, what C squared is. If I do 4 squared, I get what? Do 4 squared in your calculator. And I add that, what is 11 squared? 121. It's still equaling C squared. If I add those two together, 16 plus 121, what do I get? 130 what? 137 is equal to C squared. Now, I want the missing side length because what they said was find C, not C squared. Okay? So how do I undo a square?
Square root.
So if I take and do the square root of C squared, it gives me C. Do we agree?
Yes.
If I take the square root of 137, what is that? 11 point what? 704. And that would be the side length. If I had a triangle that had, this is my leg of 4, this is my leg of 11, and that would give me C would equal 11.704. Okay? It's pretty simple, but you have to follow the pattern. So A and B represent legs of the right triangle. They are legs. C represents the hypotenuse, which is the diagonal side. Okay. I am going to go, this is just a representation, and sometimes we will go more over this in detail again as we practice, but I gave you the area of a square is side squared, it's side times side. To find the side length, to undo a square, you use the square root symbol. I gave you this area plus this area equals this area. The C squared is equal to area. We're going to talk about this some more. We're going to do a short little practice today. And I'm going to do the first one with you, and you are going to do the other 3. Tomorrow you will come back and practice again, and then we will do real life problems. What? I'll show you how this is used. Do you know how Pythagorean theorem is used in real life? Think about it. If you have to know how on your property. It may be even next to your house. Okay? And you need to know, is it going to hit your neighbor's house when you knock it down because it's making a disruption to your roof and rats are going from the tree to your roof, getting in your attic, and then they're getting into your house through the attic, which these things are realistic. Guess what? If you have a tree, here's my tree. Okay? I need to know how far this tree's going to fall when I drop it. I cut it. Okay? Watch this. What have I just drawn? A right triangle, didn't I? So if I know about how tall the tree is, guess what?
You know it's gonna fall.
I know about how high the tree is, okay? And I know here, I can figure out how far away it's going to fall, okay? So there is real life applications. There's many other applications as you will find. It's really good to find distances. It will help you in architecture. It will help you to build a house and know when you have angles, how far this is going to be to support it and straighten it out. This is one thing that you will use in your life and not even realize you're using it. So there are going to be a couple of steps that I'm going to require you to do on the first two papers, and then we'll talk about what I'm going to require after that. The first thing you need to do is every time you're going to write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And you're going to be able to say this formula in your sleep. What is it?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Now, these are pretty clear, okay? What, you didn't get one? That's because, I'm not going to pay him $1. No, it's not him. Nuh-uh. No, stop that. You're trying to get me, and you're not going to get me. You're so confused? I always call Braxton Riker. So if I call Braxton Riker again, I have to pay him $1 every time I do it.
That is Riker.
Okay? It is not. It is Braxton. Okay? So, I have a new leaf. I'm not going to do that anymore.
So if you call me a girl, you don't give me $1?
There you go. Okay? All right.
Every time you come
Listen.
will you give me $1?
You know what? I have to call your name way too much. I know your name.
She got broken.
Okay? All right. So, first step, you're going to look at your triangle, and I know that this is going to seem like, oh, I don't have to really do this, but I'm not going to grade it. I'm not even I'll give you a 0 if you don't do all these steps I'm asking you to do. You're going to go to the point of your right angle, and you are going to draw your arrow, because let me tell you, it gets harder when you're trying to figure out a leg and you don't know which one, and sometimes in real life situations, they're all turned around, so this will keep you straight. You're going to write C here, okay? You're going to write A equals B equals. It does not matter which leg you make A and which leg you make B. It does not matter. You can flip those around. It'll work out the same. Okay? That would be like saying 7 plus 2 and 2 plus 7. They're the same thing, right? So it doesn't matter which way you flip them around. So then I have 15 squared plus 20 squared is equal to C squared. Next step. Don't say it out loud. 15 squared is what? Denise. 225 plus 20 squared is what, Braxton? What is 20 squared? Is equal to C squared. Next thing you would do is add your two together. So what is 225 plus 400, Kaylee? 625 is equal to C squared. What's the next step I need to do, Tazira? You really don't know. Let's look at our notes. What's the next step I did? Anybody remember this next step? What is it, Colin?
You got to get a square root at 25.
Okay, so I'm going to do square root on both sides because what you do on one side of the equation, you got to do to the other. So I end up with C, 1C, not 2. This was C times C, okay? So you can't do division. You have to undo the square root by doing a square by doing square root. So what is the square root of 625, Fatima? There's my answer. Okay? And if you'd gone back up here and done 25 squared, what would you get when you do 25 squared, just to show you how it works? Logan. And didn't we find that 625 was these two legs squared? So 625 would have equaled 625, and that's what we're looking for, okay? So, 25. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 things I expect to see on your paper for each one. You have 3 problems. That's it. Finish it. Follow the pattern. I've given you the pattern. No, not until you finish your work. All right. Do one problem at a time, not each line on each problem. So write a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Identify A, B, and then where is, there you go, and that's going to be your C. Now, fill in the blanks. A squared is what? No, right here. What is A? It's 5, isn't it? 5 squared. Okay. Instead of A, you're writing your 5 plus, what's your B? 12 squared equals c squared. Now do the math. 5 squared is equal to this. You're okay. But you're not doing a square root yet. First you got to do 5 squared is what? No, put 5 squared in your calculator. Not the square root of 5, 5 squared. How do you do, here, second and clear it. How do you do 5 squared? 5 x squared, enter. So you write your 25 there. Plus, what's 11 squared? So 11 squared, 12 squared, there you go. Hit enter, write that down, is equal to c squared. Now add those two numbers, write that down underneath those two numbers, is equal to c squared. Now you do the square root. Yes. Yes. First grade of the new semester. Easy grade, right? Okay. You're doing fine. Yes, sir. It can, as long as you 144 and 32, you got 32, 16 squared is not 32 though. That's where your problem is. You did 16 times 2. That's why we want to say and use the right terminology. 16 squared. Yes. Sign out. Okay. Tried not to make it too difficult coming back.
Can I bring the water after?
shoes. Turn it in. Just trying to get those brain cells starting to work again. You could put your stuff away. Grab your calculator, please, before you put it away. Okay? And you may have the last few minutes to talk, but talk to a friend who's done, not talk to a friend who's not done. Yes.
Hey man, I didn't do nothing that Friday.
What?
I didn't do anything Friday.
What did you do the Friday before break?
I was home sick. I had a flu.
Oh,
I went home for dinner.
that Christmas fever? It's been bad. Very bad.
And I had I ain't never had
Did you? I was so glad I was out of town the last couple of weeks.
That's gross.
Is anybody in GT in your head?
Especially when you had the flu, but then you're always coughing. And then that hurt. I've never had a flu shot. I think I got
Pretty bad though. If you get it, it's putting you down for like 5 to 7 days. What I hear.
Yes.
I don't want anything to do with it.
Oh, sleep. The day I went home, I didn't wake up. Like I went home about like 8:30. I got home around 9. No, around 8:45. And I didn't get up out of the bed until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Why did you like in the morning to get up?
Because he woke up.
And I woke up.
And Mason, it's amazing that he could sit still for that long.
Hey man.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine, man.
Good.
You jingle the bell when you leave from the
I'm gonna make a suggestion. You can take me up on my suggestion or not. Many of you it would probably benefit you to look at that test we took that was spiral. And I'm here all week after school because you have an MOY next Tuesday. And this MOY is gonna make a huge difference as to where you end up. Because classes can change again. You need to sign up. Okay?
Are we allowed to do campaigns? Like, ask
You can request one. They told Cassie no this week.
For the most part, things are pretty tight.
Miss Look,
Okay?
she saw that she was in your right time.
What are you gonna go to?
art. I haven't had art.
Miss Look. You're supposed to have art.
Do we?
No, you don't have to have it.
Oh.
What?
Look what I know.
You can put it in the front of the next section. I would keep
What
it.
are you gonna do? Yeah, you're done.
You're old.
I for you, I might even get rid of some of your
We
stuff.
had it, I just didn't do it. It wasn't hard.
I'm not doing it.
Because you have so much.
Mr. Andrew?
So I might go.
Is that here how you get a picture?
How you doing?
Yeah, it's fun there.
But the
Say,
I watch YouTube.
see you later, alligator. After 12 hours.
So I did it at the beginning.
So let's go. I don't
It's
have
like right up there. You got, yeah, it's the first thing you got.
Any notes that are not current,
I think
you won't need.
but it is. But she gives you that thing what happened. Yeah, you have to go
Yeah.
I've never done it.
You can be very quiet.
We all like our last year. Then she gave me
I hate when shows do that.
really nice. somebody to talk to.
I gotta be doing
Yeah, so my friend,
they're
we were talking to
Look.
Y'all got a game Thursday?
My pencil's already on the floor. Somebody's pencil's on the floor. Whose pencil?
Elena.
I normally like
I'm a tired of it. I'm tired of it. And now they're making it
my makeup is weird with it.
That's okay, Papa.
I didn't do any makeup.